Hello everybody who is watching us online on the YouTube or Facebook channel of the Uroboros Festival. Welcome to the next session, which will be focused on illustration and specifically on socially engaged illustration. My name is Michal Kučerák, and with Enrique Encinas, we are here from the Uroboros team, representing the Uroboros team and the festival. In the beginning, I would just to thank you also our partners, which are Abacus Foundation, and also the festival was supported from public funds by Slovak Art Council and also City of Prague. Also, I would like to mention that this discussion panel is part of the festival track called Off Sense Gambit, and it's curated by Enrique Encinas. I would like to also mention that this session is streamed and recorded. So for those of you who are here with us within the Zoom, please, if you do prefer to not be recorded, just turn off your camera. If you have no problem, please turn it anytime and be here with us with the panelists. Also, I'm asking anybody who is watching us online, if you will have any question, feel free to ask it on the chat and in the YouTube or Facebook, and we will deliver it to this Zoom chat. So Bara will able to read it for you. And right now, it's my pleasure, and we are very happy that we are able to introduce within the Uroboros Festival Food. Food is an independent magazine on contemporary illustration that focused mostly on socially engaged topics. Magazine was created as a fanzine of 4 illustrators at the Faculty of Art and Design in Ústí nad Labem in 2015, and it's currently led by Bára Müllerová, Veronika Homolová, and Bára Tögel. And now I will pass my words to Bára, who will be your guide for today's panel discussion. So Bára, thank you for organizing this, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us here. We are very happy that we can present our work today. And I would like to introduce also our dear guests today. So together with my colleague Veronika Homolová, we will today have a discussion with 3 foreign guests, we are based in Czech Republic, maybe we didn't mention. And our guests are Lucia Žatkuliaková from Slovakia, Nuka Horvat from Slovenia, hi Nuka, and Valentin Gallardo from Belgium, or France and Belgium. So welcome. And what we are going to do today, what's our program? We will start with presentations. For presentation, first of all, we would like to tell you something about our magazine and what we actually do and why. Then we let the word to our dear guests to present their own work, and then we will continue with discussion on what sense do we see in visual activism and drawing as a visual activism. So this is our program for today. So please let me share you our first presentation, where we want to show you something about our magazine. I'll slide to the first slide. Yeah. So Veronika, can you start?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming. And thanks to our guests for coming, of course. I would like to briefly introduce us, which already Michal did, kind of. So I would skip to us. This is us. This is our editorial board. And on the right side, you can see Bára, which is here today. She is kind of like an Anna Wintour of food. She does a lot of things. She is like teacher, illustrator, of course, graphic designer. She is a very good musician. And the most important thing for us for food is that she is doing her PhD studies on Faculty of Art and Design in Ústí nad Labem, which is place where we studied and where we met actually, and where we started this this amazing project. And if there's something I didn't mention and you want to mention, you can. No, is it fine? Okay. So on the left there is Bára Togel, which Michal already also mentioned, and she is of course also an illustrator and freelancer, an amazing tattoo artist. So if you want to check her Instagram, which I think you want to, it's Blame the Cat 666. And in the middle, it's me, obviously, and sometimes I'm sad that my name is not Bára, but it would be funny. But my name is Veronika, and I am a graphic designer, and I am working on books, visuals for independent festivals, and currently now I'm working in a small creative agency.
And what's our mission together when creating a food magazine or art zine? We want to empower social engaged illustrators, comic creators, and art zine makers all around the world. And we want to connect them together. We want to spread the idea that as illustrators, we are not just some cool professionals slaving anyone who just pay us. But we have our own bias, beliefs, and skills that we can use to achieve our goals as active citizens. So we focus on socially engaged drawing. And in past years, we embodied these very general ideas into a few topics that we worked with in our magazine issues and exhibitions we curated and organized. And these topics were feminism, queer and gender, ecology, environmentalism, mental health, and urbanism. And currently we are preparing an issue on social exclusion, xenophobia, and racism.
So this here I wanted to talk about about origin of food, about how we started. As I already mentioned, we started as a school project, but it was very different that time because it was really it's supposed to be a magazine for school. So the topics we focused on were more, it was more like illustration and fun in the beginning, and then it kind of slowly developed to things we are now working on or we are now interested in. And here you can see photos of how we are preparing the magazine. We do everything by ourselves, and also some photos from festivals, because that was actually how it moved from being just a one-time project for school to being an actual magazine, because we had some open call for some festival and we are okay, let's do this, let's make another issue. And that's how we started.
Yeah, and we do it ourselves. So from the beginning, from contacting people to creating content to the very end, what means hands-on approach in the workshop, we do it all ourselves. So the magazine is our very personal project, and we also really appreciate the possibility to meet people in person also on the festivals, as Veronika already mentioned. So our approach is actually a very classical DIY self-publishing way of creating and using this platform actually to meet new people.
Yeah, as Bára said, it's we kind of there's one thing about festivals we really like, and it's meeting people. It's like not just meeting the buyers, and to have the like possibility to talk to them and to explain them, because as you can see, it's very like colorful, and a lot of people thinks that it's like a magazine for children actually. So we can like talk to them and tell them what it is about, and that there are some like interesting issues in it, not just like pretty pictures. And also what is important about festivals for us is to meet illustrators, because with like now we are working with people from foreign countries, and we can like, we do not attend a lot of foreign festivals. We would like to, but our magazine is in Czech, so it's a little bit complicated with that. But we can meet people from like Czech Republic or Slovakia there. And also we kind of like, this connection is very important to us, because we kind of like created this like system of networking, which is that when we are working on some like topic, we want to have illustrators who already work with that topic or who are engaged in the same theme. So, but we don't know them. It's like we know some people who we are following on Instagram, or we are trying to find some new people, but the best way for us is to actually like ask people who we already worked with to recommend someone, and it works really nicely. And we got to this like new people we wouldn't probably discovered on internet.
Yeah, so it's also very personal. So our friends are recommending their friends and people they admire. So it's a whole network of people recommending each other and networking. And actually, this is the first issue, the fourth issue we made, but the first issue that has the same idea as we still have now. So the first one that was socially oriented, and it had also the same concept as we are still holding now. That means that we are bringing reviews, reportages, history of illustration, commentaries, interviews, and so on. And the main section of the magazine is a gallery of 10 artists who are working on the same topic. And this time the topic was, in Czech it's called halušky. Actually it's a Slovakian traditional food, but also a slang word for hallucinations or illusions or like perception errors. And this gallery was made during the workshop we were having with clients of a center for people with mental issues or mental disorders. And I think this content was very interesting, because those people were drawing their fears and their hopes and their very personal things. Those drawings were amazing, but one of the sad sides is that actually this was the issue, or is an issue that is selling the worst, because it's visible that also for zine lovers it's somehow I don't know, more inviting to buy a publication with well-known artists, professional artists they know from Instagram, and not with people that are unknown but very, very interesting artists as well. So this is this like darker side of this project, but I recommend it. We still have it and it's very interesting.
Yeah, about darker sides, this is our issue called Everyday Darkness, and the name speaks for itself. It's like about everyday struggles as illustrators, as artists, as freelancers, as human beings actually. And it's about like our worst selves. And if Halušky were the first issue where we first touched the engaged topic, this is the first issue where we womaned up and asked people from foreign country if they want to participate. Because before, as we already said, there we asked friends and people we knew, because Czech Republic and Slovak Republic are a bit like small pond, so we kind of know each other or know about each other. And here we said, okay, let's do it. Let's try to ask people from foreign countries if they want to participate. And they did, and it was amazing, because our magazine is non-profit and we can't offer to pay artists. So they just sent us their stuff for just having them printed, and it was really amazing. There is you can see here artists from USA and my loved one Tara Booth, and it was it was awesome.
Yeah, and this was the first exhibition we made. Its topic was, or it was called Girl, Here is a Rag for You. And it was focused on feminist ideas as well as LGBTQ and queer in general. And here it was an exhibition of a series of posters. Here you can see pieces from Pauline Spira and Valentin Gallardo from Belgium, and Ida Nevedal on the left, and Barbara Tegel, our colleague from magazine from Czech Republic. Ida is from Norway. And we also had a talk on stereotypes in comics. We had a nice opening with queer musician Dance Divine from Belgium, and we also published a catalog for the exhibition with interviews with all the involved artists and their opinions in Czech and English. So you can also read their ideas.
This is our latest issue. It was called Zeli, which means cabbage, translated to English. And also it's about a green color and something like this in Czech. And it was about environment and ecology. The main topic for Illustrators Gallery was Landscape Lost and New. It was about how nature changes, and it's topic which really resonates now with all the stuff that is happening. So it was very interesting to see opinions from illustrators from all over the world. You can see here on the right side, on the bottom, you can see Jack Snelling's illustration. He's a German artist, and on the top there is Karolina Lubačko. She's from Poland.
Yeah, and Jelink is from Great Britain, but
oh, sorry.
Yeah, and this is our last series of posters called Urban Jungle, where we focused on problems of living in the city today, like gentrification and gentrification and all this stuff that we suffer from in cities right now. Here you can see poster from Yaya Veller on the left side and Madeleine Krause on the right one. And here is on the left Czech illustrator Nikola Logosova and Ed Shefton from Brighton or London. No, I'm not sure now, but Great Britain actually. And we also made, again, an interview catalog, and we were traveling with this a series of posters around Czech Republic. We were in 3 cities and 4 galleries. We wanted to take it abroad as well, but that was not very possible last year. So we hope we do it this year.
This is just a selection of artists we worked with, and as we already said, the most important thing for us is to make these connections and to be able to make this network with people and people who create. And we are working with people who are doing things for big large companies, and also with students and activists. So we have broad focus in people who are drawing for us.
Yes. And this is the upcoming issue, which will be the calendar, and the main gallery will be called Congratulations, You're Acceptable. What's a kind of ironic name for it? I hope it's understandable. And these are works from our precious guests we invited today, and now I will give them a word to show us their work and tell us something about what they do and what they like. So the first guest I would like to invite to the floor is Valentin Gallardo. Valentin, it's yours.
Thank you, Bella, and thank you for the invitation. I will share my screen and show you a short presentation of the work I do. Yeah, so I'm a comic artist. I'm a comic artist who lives in Belgium. And I focus mainly on short stories, but I have made some longer publications together with other people. These are some examples of my work. So the short 4-panel comic is kind of showing frustration with, in general, a society that pushes people to consume when the natural resources are kind of dwindling. And I think my work has been described as socially engaged by other people, but I don't really identify myself as an activist. I don't think I'm an activist. I'm just an individual who's, like many people I have concerns about some things that are happening in the world, and those topics kind of naturally find their way into my stories. So on the right page, there's a discussion between two characters, and one of these characters is kind of like the negative, pessimistic voice, and he's it's a really anxious character, and the other one is kind of trying to balance that by giving a more hopeful message in a way. This is a story I did. It's a 10-page comic for a magazine called Kush, which is a comics magazine from Latvia. The theme was plant power. And in this 10-page story, it's another dialogue between two characters. I did a lot of research for this one, and I really enjoyed the research I did because I learned about this thing called phosphorus. I had no idea what it was, but it's another resource that's disappearing, apparently. So yeah, this is like examples of my personal work. And aside from that, something that my artistic practice has been kind of revolving around in the last 5 to 7 years, I would say, is small press or self-publishing. I also organize a zine festival, but I'll come back to this later. This is, I would say, like it's not really a review, but it's more like a feature featuring small press publications that I have bought or traded or found at various zine festivals or through the internet. And in this feature, I thought like it's like a show where I'm the host and I'm talking about one of those publications. The aim is not like a traditional book review to give points and then incite people to buy something. It's more like a feature to share something that I think is really nice and like care about. So this is, although it's about paper publications, it's a comic that appears on a Belgian comics website. So this is something else I do. And I briefly would like to talk about how my understanding of artistic fulfillment or artistic success has changed over the years. So when I was in school, in art school, I think the emphasis was very much put upon the individual and the name and the artist who would become famous and publish many books and have a great career and make very good work, obviously. So the focus was on developing your own work and trying out a lot of different things and making your work as good as it could be, and then looking for publishers and so on. But there was something to me that didn't really match up in this equation, is that in alternative comics, when you publish books, there is no money coming from that. Like, even if you publish with renowned publishers, there's the question of where does the money come from? And so you have to take another job on the side or whatever. So if producing book after book after book isn't a fulfilling thing, I mean, there must be more to it than that, I thought. But when I was in school, I also learned something else, which was very valuable, but was not taught by the institution or not by the teachers. It's something that I found out with my classmates, is the power of collective work. And that's something that I want to talk about because it really, I think it's something that I find very valuable. So back in school, I and a few other classmates, I want to say friends because they're my friends now, but at the time we barely knew each other. We decided to make a magazine, not unlike food. And our collective name was called Tita met haar. It's kind of a joke. It means hairy tits in Dutch. I'm not going to go into the joke, but whatever. So that was the name of our collective, and we did it for fun and for the love of making things and the love of art. And because we had so much fun, we ended up putting the profits of our first publication into another publication, and so on and so on. Pretty much like food, I would say. So this experience, like seeing what the combined brain power of, at the time, 6 people could do in terms of like opening doors for all of us. Like we had exhibitions, we traveled to different countries, we showed our work everywhere. We got to invite artists that we admired as well and work with them. So it was like this collective group power that was very exciting. And that's something that that was not really encouraged in school, but that we came by ourselves. And I'm really happy about that. Because this experience also empowered me to think of myself as a person who could make things happen. So like not to have to wait back for somebody to organize something for you. If you want to make it happen, then you might as well make it happen yourself, like such as the zine festival that I started with a neighbor at the time, like again, somebody that I didn't know very well, but who lived in my neighborhood and who was also interested in zines. And she asked me if I wanted to help her put together a zine festival. And I thought that was very exciting. It was an exciting idea. So we started looking for a space, and we found the community center in our neighborhood, which we could use for free. So we started there, and we invited some people. All the contacts we had were into zines from, I think the first edition was probably mostly people from Belgium. And we went from there, and it was really nice to like see this community coming together and exchanging things and looking at each other's work. And that was like generally a very, very warm and positive feeling, which was instantly rewarding. So of course we continued year after year building this festival. This is the current location that we have. It's a self-managed art space in an old church in the center of Ghent. It's called Kunsthal. And this edition was 2019. We collaborated with Ghent Art Book Fair, which is a little bit similar to what we do, but they focus on art books. So they don't really have, I don't know, photocopier zines that people made in 2 minutes. And it's a little bit, it's a different, a different atmosphere and different public, but we work together. And that's why there are so many tables as well. And this was, so 2019, as I said, and then 2020 happened and we couldn't have our festival for obvious reasons. And we decided to postpone the program that we had back then and keep the same guests and tables. In the end, we had to scrap the guests, but we had our last edition about 3 weeks ago. So as you can see, it's completely different. There's no tables like put as close as possible to fit as many people as we could, but it was still a very nice atmosphere. And I think for me and for other people, it was really needed to have this kind of to feel this kind of community feeling again, because I think the arts world or scene anyway in Ghent and probably in other places has suffered immensely during the 2020 pandemic. And I think we can take it from there and rebuild it together. And yeah, that's what I learned. Like that's how I see kind of being a successful and fulfilled artist now, is like having ways to directly interact with the community. And it's not incompatible with also making your individual work. It's two things that I find complementary. And that's it for now. I will leave space for another speaker. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Valentin. And I will please Nuka to share his own presentation, their own presentation, sorry.
Okay, can everyone see fine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hi, I'm Nuka, and I'm an illustration student, or comic book artist and zine enthusiast from Slovenia. The pronouns I use are they and he. What visually interests me and what I think I try to explore visually in my art is what turns recognizable shapes into random, unrecognizable ones, and essentially every stage that comes in between. I would like for my art to evoke familiarity and confusion at the same time. The themes I try to, right? Is it switching for you guys? How do I make it go? Okay. The themes I try to tackle are always presented through my eyes as a transgender and queer person. I would like to believe I can offer some interesting new perspectives. And essentially, I'm driven to create art that is connected to issues I care about, such as LGBTQIA rights and oppression, especially transgender issues. The state of our late stage capitalist society and other major world events that are happening right now. One of the recent projects that I find especially relevant to this topic of socially engaged art is a comic zine funnel that I've made. It depicts the process of radicalization into alt-right hate groups. It captures the moments that it captures are torn from their real context and linked in such a way that their form is fragmented and it's like an incomplete narrative. And it includes real fascist quotes I found around the internet, and it's a tough read. I wanted to make it even more unpleasant with the use of the bright red. And I tried to capture the feeling of alienation and despair and fear, which in the current global conditions can push people towards ideologies of hate. Another project that is currently still in development is a series of monotypes that center around anti-trans violence and transphobia. In case you weren't sure, monotype is a printmaking technique of creating a one-time print. And in this series, I used fabric to reach into the third dimension. And essentially, the fabric symbolically represents cloaking of the truth with lies, misinformation, and fear. Anti-trans violence is invisible, and the truth of what it even means to be transgender is invisible. But the last monotype, which you can see here on the right, in the series is essentially, it's without fabric and represents trans rebellion. Maybe you can see there's like a vague person on a bike maybe, and the original title can't be translated perfectly, but roughly it's a call to get on bikes, because biking and bikes have become a symbol of rebellion in Slovenia. In very simple terms, last year, all gatherings were prohibited because our government tried to stop the protests against it. But biking was allowed, so people started protesting on bikes. I want my art to be seen, but it's always scary to pitch this kind of stuff to galleries because you never know where they stand and how they will react. But if there exists propaganda against me and my queer siblings' livelihood, utilizing the same field of work I'm in, I find it impossible to do nothing. I have to use art to fight that. Outside of personal work, I help as a volunteer at trans feminist initiative Transakcija, which is an organization devoted to human rights and transgender persons in Slovenia. They're wonderful. I've been with them for a few years, and they're doing so much. I try to help to my best abilities, especially with art, I guess. My work for them spans from educational illustrations and animations, visualizing data and graphs, to designing and editorial work on zines that we publish. Here you can see some random illustrations. The square ones are from a book they published. That's like a little Trans 101 help book. Nothing like that existed in Slovenian language before, so it was necessary for it to be made, and I illustrated it. I think it's lovely. This job obviously requires friendlier and more literal shapes than what I create otherwise, but that's okay. It's fine too. Anyway, I want to more specifically highlight the two zines that we've curated at Transakcija since the pandemic started, because I think they were very cool projects. The first one was the Quarantine zine, essentially combining the word queer and quarantine. It was published on May 17th last year, which is the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Intersexism, and Transphobia. And May 17th is gonna be here soon again, by the way. Essentially, so Quarantine Zine had an open call and invited all LGBTQIA artists, specifically trans ones, to express themselves and how they deal with COVID, and to comment on the state of the world. We received submissions from all around the world. I think it's an amazing collection of amazing artists. If you're interested, I can drop a link to the online zine later. It's worth checking out. Here are just two of the submissions by two trans artists that I've included. I've also included their Instagram profiles if you'd like to follow them. The zine is hosted online because we didn't have the money to print it, but I made one physical hand-bound version just for fun, I just printed it out on my dad's shitty printer. So that's what you can see here. And the second zine that came out in November last year is a rebellion zine. The open call was local, so for and by Slovene people. It's essentially a culmination of feminist and socially critical texts and art aimed at our right-wing autocratic government that undemocratically asserted themselves as leaders in 2020 when the pandemic started. And we've been having non-stop protests in Slovenia ever since last year, and I think the zine perfectly captures our anger and distress. Everything is in black and white because we wanted to evoke the feeling of a low-budget zine. And these are all the random graphics that I've made for, internet. The zine was, in the end, like massive. We received so many submissions that if we printed the whole thing out, it would be a fat book. So we printed just a small collection with which spanned about 50 pages in the end. We also, in the end, received more budget. So Transakcija sent physical copies to all the people that wanted them for free. I think self-publishing is so important, and I'm so glad that I get to be a part of it, because who will publish our ideas if not us, right? There's something so pleasant to just print out your zine to give to your friends, and if it becomes something bigger, just like the 2 zines we've made, then even better. So that brings me to the illustration I've drawn for Food magazine, and by now I'm sure you can guess that the issue I choose to depict was anti-trans violence and transphobia, and this is the art I've made. It's as packed and confusing as I like to make it, but I've tried to capture the emotion. You can see whatever you choose to see in this illustration, but from my end, I tried to include the oppressive forces on the top that push down on the oppressed. On the left, that is a vaguely human-shaped figure that is pushing down someone. And on the right, that is the scissors are destroying the trans flag, which is only implied because these are not the colors of a trans flag. And I've included a call to action too. What I've presented here today, I'm not trying to say that every illustrator should be forced into socially engaged art and they should feel bad if they don't. I think we all get our own inspiration from different places, and art that deals with lighter topics isn't worse for it, but is in fact a much needed respite. With my art, I'm not like trying to transcend time and make something that will hold up centuries after. This is not my goal at all. I live now at this very moment, and I want to comment, be involved, capture the zeitgeist, and help if I can. Art is a powerful tool, and I want to use it how I think is best. So that's that from me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Nuka. That was a very, very nice speech. Really, thank you. And before we go to the final discussion, we have one more guest presentation, and that will be done by Lucia Žatkuliaková. So the floor is yours, Lucia. And please, as Michal wrote, feel free to send us your questions to the chat, and after Lucia's presentation, we can go to them in a debate. So it's yours, Lucia.
I hope you can see it properly now. Well, so my name is Lucia Žatkuliaková. I'm an illustrator based in Bratislava, Slovakia. I've obtained my master's degree in illustration and printmaking at the Academy of Fine Arts and Design in Bratislava. Then I was working for 2 years for a publishing house called Slovart here in Bratislava, and since 2018 I'm working as a freelance illustrator, and until recently, I was also working as a part-time for an NGO called Slovak Governance Institute. First, I would like to speak about my latest project and also the one I'm probably most proud of. It's this Romani Slovak workbook. I'll explain the background shortly. There are many children in Slovakia whose first language is Romani. When they go to admission exams to the first grade of elementary school, they're asked to do tasks in Slovak language. For example, to describe a bathroom. In language they don't speak, they should describe a room where some of them haven't been to before. Obviously, they cannot pass this exam, so they are sorted out to special schools, which are not sufficient form of education to get a job later. If they're lucky enough and they get accepted to the elementary school, they'll be experiencing many problems because of the language barrier. Their teachers won't understand them. They won't be able to understand their teachers. They'll be getting bad grades, so they won't be accepted to the higher levels of education. The school system in Slovakia is turning its back on them, keeping them from getting necessary education, getting a job, getting out of poverty. Even their teachers don't realize this, that the language barrier is such a big problem. They think that the Romani children are just stupid or lazy. There are no updated bilingual books or educational tools. And also in the most of the children's books and workbooks in Slovakia, you can find only children with light shades of skin. I think it's important for children to see someone they can identify with. And to drown not only the white children, I think it's not a form of activism, it's a common manners. When I realized all this, I started to think what can be done and got inspired by the Richard Scarry illustrated dictionaries. Maybe you remember them from childhood. And I thought of making a bilingual or even trilingual Romani Slovak Hungarian illustrated dictionary. I've mentioned this idea to Monika Kompaníková, who was working as editor for publishing house of Slovak daily Deník N. We've reached some experts, researchers from NGOs, teachers, and together we've worked on the Romani Slovak workbook, memory cards, and book of tips for teachers how to work with this workbook. We've got quite a big financial support via crowdfunding. We don't think this workbook will solve everything, but at least it can be a start, and hopefully it helps more people to realize that the problem is not in these children, but in the approach of the state. Well, I will be speaking about the bilingual topic for a moment. This is a collaboration with the NGO Marina, which is helping foreigners in Slovakia. They asked me to make illustrations for a bilingual memory card game. There are pairs in Slovak language. There are pairs of cards. One is in Slovak language and the other card is with empty space, so you can write a word in your own language. As you can see, these were images made especially for children audience. I believe that images for children audience and children's books are a great tool to spread knowledge, build sensitivity to various topics, to raise empathy. They can help parents to discuss important topics with children since very young age.
And even if the parents don't talk about the books with their children, the children are very perceptive and open enough to get a lot from the books and pictures. This is a children's book called Vincent. It was published by Slovak publishing house Egreš, which focuses on ecological topics. This book is about small vodnik, Vincent, living in a lake who is just about to go to school when the vodoveda, the book containing all the wisdom about water, is gone. Vincent, his sister Esther, and their teacher Mineralka set out for a search for this book. They go through lakes, rivers, seas, clouds, under-earth waters, and on the way, Vincent is learning all about water, its beauty, and its importance. The book is divided into parts where the main story is told, and educational part where the children learn about the water environments, animals living in water, and how we should protect the water. It's beautifully written and a super important topic because there's no life without water. Another children's book I had the chance to work on is Kvapky na kameni, or in English, Droplets on the Stone. Their authors were inspired by the Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. Probably you know this book. Various writers from Slovak and Czech Republic wrote stories about brave, powerful, talented women from past and present Slovak and Czech Republic and Czechoslovakia. Illustrations to these stories were made by female illustrators from both countries. There are illustrations for the stories that I made. One is about Busy Fleischmann in the red dress and Věra Čáslavská, that's the gymnast on the right. Věra Čáslavská was a Czechoslovak artistic gymnast. She won many international titles. She was also known for her opposition to the 1968 Soviet-led invasion to Czechoslovakia. At the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, she took these protests to the world stage by quietly looking down and away while the Soviet national anthem was playing during the medal ceremonies. While Čáslavská's actions were applauded by her compatriots, they resulted in her becoming a persona non grata for the new regime. She was forced into retirement for many years and was denied the right to travel, work, and attend sporting events. Busy Fleischmann was a Zionist activist and the leader of the Bratislava Working Group, one of the best-known Jewish rescue groups during the Holocaust. She saved many lives and didn't save her own. She died in Auschwitz concentration camp. Talking about strong women, I'd like to mention feminist newsletter Kurni, for whom I've made few illustrations. For 5 years already, they are sending a newsletter each week, including well-written articles from Slovak women about their experiences, stories, feelings, emotions, and fears, and accompanied with illustrations from female artists. By this, Girls from Kurnik managed to create a safe, sharing space for women, where we are learning not to judge others, but to empower one another. The pink image was protesting women was created where when once again the Slovak parliament was trying to restrict the access to abortion for women. It is happening like, I don't know, 6 times per year in Slovakia now. Well, so similarly as in Poland or Slovenia or in Hungary, in Slovak parliament, we have many far-right politicians and Christian radicals that are calling themselves conservatives, but they are trying to suppress women and LGBT plus rights. Organizations that are defending women's rights and LGBT plus rights are being cut from financial support. And as the last thing, I would like to talk about Čierne diery. Čierne diery can be translated as black holes. It's a quite phenomenon here in Slovakia. In collaboration with artists, they are making risograph prints to raise money for nearly forgotten important architectural landmarks in Slovakia, but also they're raising money for feminist organizations, NGOs helping marginalized communities, and so on. The print on the left helped raise money for feminist organization Aspect, and the other one for Cesta Von, which is an NGO helping mentoring women from marginalized communities to educate preschool children. Well, so these were some examples of my work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Thank you, everyone, for your speeches. It was very nice and interesting for me to see all those different approaches to the topics you are interested in, from the direct fundraising and raising money for your work for the topics you feel urge to support, till like more soft views like raising awareness about the issues and so on. These were very various ways of supporting what you feel important. And now we can start the discussion. Maybe I will set the first question before we get some questions from the audience, and I will set it for anyone who just wants to start to answer. And it will be very broad question. I would like to ask you all, what do you think about the social responsibility of graphic designer or illustrator in general? And if you think we should be just service providers who work independently on our personal bias, or if it's appropriate to bring our personal beliefs in our work. I let anyone who wants to start, who wants to speak.
Okay, I can try.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very individual and it's up to everybody, but for me personally, it's important that my work or the clients I work with are reflecting my personal beliefs. So I don't want to make only neat images. It should contain also some message somehow.
And Lucia, did you sometimes had some struggle, like maybe you started some project that was looking well in the beginning and then something turned up, or do you have some border, what's like still acceptable and what's not? Because you know, sometimes it's very clear and you have no doubts, and sometimes it's like quite, you know, there are some pros and cons and you have to find your own way.
Well, when I was speaking about the Romani Slovak workbook, we had an offer of donation from one foundation of one Czech billionaire that is quite controversial for me because he's in coal business and so on. So we denied this and we decided that we'll do the crowdfunding, and actually we raised like 2 times that amount of money.
Wow.
More than he was offering.
Wow, that's nice.
So this was like the boundary. But I no, it didn't happen with any of the project that it's turned to be something else than in the beginning. No.
I see. Thank you. Does Valentin or Nuka want to share their experience or ideas on this?
Sure, I can go if it's okay. First, about if we're bringing personal beliefs into our work, right? I would even go to say that it's even impossible to leave personal bias at the door, because as human beings, we can never really be objective, and we can only be open-minded and conscious and educated. But we all have different beliefs on what is right and what's ethical, what means to be designing for greater good. I've seen an artist draw a transgender person boiling alive, and they really seriously believe that we are the root of all evil. And I can really see that they believe it. So, and I myself, I can't guarantee that I'm always right either. So I think we should just stop pretending that we can be objective, especially when it comes to art, and just accept that we are always motivated by our beliefs.
Yes, this also reminds me something that Valentin said, that she doesn't feel as activist, but she just brings her ideas to what she does, and it's just natural. So maybe in this you have similar feelings.
I completely agree with that. That's we are not neutral, and we all have a set of personal beliefs that we carry with us. I also understand the need for people to, like, when they do commercial work, to do things that don't completely fit with their artistic integrity, and that's, you know, people need money to live as well, and that I understand. In my current position, I'm not making any commercial work, but I also see how it's possible to, like, not, I don't know, I guess it's something that everybody has to decide. Whereas, you know, what starts to feel bad to you to make, and yeah, personal moral compass, I guess.
Yeah, I have the same feeling, like there's no like general border that could be followed by everyone, that everyone has to find his or her or their own way to cope with all these issues that were very complex sometimes. Like, for example, in some campaign you can try to help some issue to get visible and on the public eye, but maybe it's paid with someone who is not so, you know, this is always like what's more important and not so clear sometimes. Veronica, do you also want to ask something?
Yes, thanks, I do. I have question. It can be for all of you also. You kind of like a bit maybe talked about it in your presentation, but I have question if has something important happened in your life that made you focus on like socially engaged topics?
Who will go? Okay, I'll go.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if there was just one event that pushed me. It was a lot of little things. Even as a child or a preteen, I had this naive, vague idea of wanting to help people in the world. And later I came out as not straight, and even later out as trans. And I mean, I was given something to fight for, and in my battle I used art. It's sad to say, but even if we strive to be compassionate, it's still easier to understand marginalized groups when you're a part of one. And start caring for unjust systems when they are denying your rights and existence.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nuka, for that sharing. You already mentioned that in your speech, didn't you, that you felt it's impossible to like just leave the topic because it's something that's touching every day, your everyday life. I see. Thank you. Does Lucia or Valentin wants to share their experience with that? If there was something that was the moment that you decided, yes, I have to deal with it, or if it was a longer process?
Well, for me, I don't recall any special moment or experience that somehow changed me. But I think it was like the lifelong evolvement or process, maybe also contributed by reading books and just widening my sensitivity or something like that, and maybe also the experience of being an outsider in the elementary school that made me maybe more sensitive to the problems of the others, something like that.
Yeah, thank you. Also, this is a question to the audience. If you want to ask something yourself or put the question to the debate, just write it to the chat or raise the hand in the reactions so we know that you want to ask something. And back to our topic, Valentin, do you also want to share or?
I don't have anything particular to add. It's also like life experience in general and observing discrepancies and yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would also ask one thing. There was also an issue that came up more times in your presentations, actually, and that was self-publishing, because both you and Nuka mentioned that you feel a big power in self-publishing, and it has some like special values for you. I think that we share this passion and focus as well. But could you probably tell something more about this, or why is it so important for you, or what values do you feel in it?
So by self-publishing, I mean, when I talk about it, I think about self-publishing on paper, so people printing things, because self-publishing could also be online. That's like, yeah, that's also fine. But yeah, I'm really into self-publishing on paper. I think it's a beautiful thing that people can make their own entertainment, first of all, if only that, you know, without, yeah, it's really this like kind of DIY spirit and kind of punk spirit that I love, like people making things for themselves, for other people to share and to like exchange and build community and share ideas. And it's something that I think you can extend to other areas of your life, like this kind of, I can do it myself. I don't need to wait for anybody else to do it, and we can do it together. That's something beautiful, I think.
Yeah, you said one thing that feels very important to me, connected to the like print self-publishing, because for me it's really the way how to communicate and meet with people, and this is the biggest advantage of print self-publishing for me, because I have never noticed any like meetings and happenings of people writing blogs or something like that. And I feel that these online self-publishing more like divides people than connects them, actually. And there was a big trend of self-publishing online around 2000 or 2005, 10, something like this. And I did never have been to any like meeting of people who just love to read blogs, but there are so many zine fairs and zine happenings and festivals where you can really meet actual people. So this is what I really love about it. although it's not so ecological maybe, but saving data online is also not so much. So who knows? Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, continue.
No, I really know what you mean. And I think especially now with like social media being, I don't know, like platforms like Facebook or Instagram, like those gigantic platforms are, it really doesn't encourage sharing. It encourages social performance, like a performance of your life, showing people what you do, either as an artist or as a person, like look at my beautiful life. And it doesn't really, it's kind of like one way, you know, like kind of speaking to an audience or something. So that's something that is not, I mean, the internet could be different, you know, it's just those platforms, but yeah.
I have the same feeling. Thanks. What about Nuka? Do you want to add something to your passion or to the power of the self-publishing?
I think you essentially said everything. I'm honestly really sad because here in Slovenia we don't have any fairs that I could join, and I'm so sad about that. I wish I could join yours. Maybe someday.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully there will be time we can travel abroad again.
So maybe I could add, you know, it's I just like what you said before, you know, as a part of the online festival program, how it's so hard for people to gather like online, you know, it's still a tricky thing. Maybe, you know, it's I was just thinking, you know, how it's with the illustrators, you know, like how it's with like digital illustration, and maybe what Valentina would said, you know, about this social performance actually, because it's hard to say, you know, how this maybe illustrators turn into like more to like a game environment. And that's like also, like, I just want to mention that if anybody would like to join us, we also open the Discord channel, which is kind of the channel of online gathering of different group of people. So it's, you know, it's this could be something which maybe we could also like a question later on. But I would like to ask, right, maybe Bara and Veronica, because you were asking like the artists how they select, you know, the topics for their work. And I would like to ask you, you know, how is it with you, and also like how the dramaturgy of the magazine works, actually, how you select the topic, because that's maybe also can be interesting to hear.
How do we select the topics?
Yeah.
That is hard question. I'm not sure if there ever been some moment like this is it. It just pops up in our lives, and we try to choose the topics that we found like that more illustrators share to be important with us, like that were. Oh no, sorry, my dog escaped the flat. Veronica, could you continue, please?
Yeah, of course.
So this is how it works. Yeah, this is how you select the topics. Yeah.
That's it. It's very messy.
I hope it will be okay.
Yeah,
I
hope so. Yeah. Yeah, this is also a magic of like online meetings and online festivals, I guess, like dogs escaping and packaging arriving and wearing sweatpants and stuff like this. But yeah, back to your question. We really don't have any system. Like we just find some topic we are interested in. Is everything okay?
Yes, she's back. Sorry.
we enjoyed it. We enjoyed it with you. Hopefully, I'd be glad it's safe. She's safe.
Yeah. So I lost my thought. That's fine. It's just that we like come up with something we are like currently thinking about or we are dealing with, and we choose illustrators by that. We want to have artists who already like worked with this topic, who already have some interest in it, because it's something they already like think about. And it's not just that you give someone a theme and they just draw something, but it's like more personal, and this is what is important for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, that's where I was heading, actually, because what I understood from the presentations and from the discussion so far, that it's in this case it's very personal to decision, because this is not, I guess, that what where the money are, but this is more about like the expression and maybe necessity you feel, you know, to deal with such subjects, actually. So that I was interested in how you as a collective, how the synergy, so you know, the energy works within, to if you go with the topic and then look for the artist, or you go with the artist and based on that you see that this is the topic, and then you are looking for something else. But I like that, you know, it's not like that you have to be structured and to know like what will be your topic in 2030. Yeah? It's like also about, it's like reading the situation, actually.
Yeah, we definitely don't know what the topic will be in the next issue. It's like it comes every time with the new issue. We are like, okay, what we will do now. And also, I don't know if we mentioned that, but we are doing like one exhibition per year and one issue per year. We did it more frequently, but we were not able to do it. As we said, it's like our passion. We are working while we are doing it, so it was not possible to combine it with work life and school life. So we decided to do it like this, and yeah, every time we just gather and decide what the topic will be.
Yeah, and actually we have one question from the audience now. Sonia Flajzíková wanted to ask something. So Sonia, if you're ready.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I hope you can hear me. So first of all, hello everyone. Thank you so much for this lovely presentation. I mean, I really love all of the things I've seen, and it was great to hear the discussion and all of the great work. So I feel very inspired and pumped. So keep doing the great work, guys. And yeah, I was just wondering that it's really nice to just see all of these things, like especially in printed media, which looks like almost something, it's some kind of underground in nowadays production, because everything is going through like towards digital. So seeing the actual comics, and most of the stuff I've seen were the actual 3D books and like printed stuff, which feels, yeah, that it's pretty rare. And I feel almost geeky actually, like printed stuff, because yeah, I just like wondering if you feel the pressure of digital industry. And the other question was like looking at the pandemic situation, and then the last year changed stuff drastically, and I don't remember what was my last exhibition I've seen or anything like cultural whatsoever. So I was just wondering if it changed your like work, of like maybe work style in general, because many people reconsider what they're doing, how they do it. You can see it like in creative industry, which was like massively changed by COVID and by different conditions. I don't know, ads are made via Zoom, etc. Like in terms of video and other media, like it just like showed other routes to people, like how to produce, or how to actually, even in like, it could be design, it could be art or illustration. So people found like completely different ways or alternative routes how to express or how to deliver projects or how to actually create. So I was just wondering how this COVID-19 situation changed your maybe work style or your work opportunity or the way how you normally do stuff in general. Thank
well,
you.
These are so many questions. Thank you, Sonia. If I can start, I will start with the first question you said about the printing and digital. I think this was a big question, very big and troubling question, like 10 years ago, or maybe even more, when many people profited real books to disappear, definitely, and that everything will go online, and it definitely didn't happen. And now I think that we can be sure it will never happen, because if it did not happen yet, it will not, I think, because people really like to touch the real stuff. And when it comes to the self-publishing, you can see a big blossom of it, like around 2015, when the first big zine fairs started to occur, started to pop up around the world. And yeah, I think it was 2013 when the New York Zine Festivals started. And then there was now you can find them in Philippines, in Indonesia, really all around the world, in every bigger city. And Nuka said that they have no in Slovenia, but maybe they will have some next year or something. So I think that this like partisani or underground practice started to be quite common among people who felt that the virtual stuff is somehow not so real. And actually, the year before COVID, I've checked the statistics, and 2018 was the year when people globally published the biggest number of real 3D paper books ever, like when counted in pieces. Now every book sells in smaller numbers, but there are so many titles around the world that all the books together, this was increasing. Of course, that COVID stopped it somehow, but I think that we need to look back like in 5 or 10 years again and see what the effect really was, if it will change the publishing market and also the non-market of self-publishing somehow in a longer terms, or if it was just some season that was strange and it will continue again. This is from me, but anyone who wants to add something to it?
Yeah, I can say that with the zine happening, so the festival I organize, we had to think about a way to make it happen anyway, although it was difficult, and we considered briefly doing it online. And I think perhaps it would have been good, but we also decided against it in the end, thinking the main interest of the festival is the market. It is like the zine market. We also have talks and workshops and things like that, but the main interest is really the zines themselves. And so if we could not have this online and we could not have this sense of community building happening, then we would wait until it's possible to do something in real life. So in the end, we did with some restrictions, such as very spaced out tables and hand gel everywhere and masks, but it was still a physical event. And that was like, yeah, that was what we compromised on.
Yeah.
I really envy you to do this. I'm so looking forward to like attend something like this.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, to us as food, the COVID thing, changed our way of work actually mostly with this, that we were not able to meet with people in person, and we had to start finding new ways how to distribute our magazines and posters to people in a different ways than we were used to, because we just made pop-up stores before and went to the festival markets, and this was not so often this year, but I think we will get to our old ways of doing that again once it's possible.
Yeah, we are very old school in this. I think we will just wait until we can do it again like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. And is there one more question, like maybe the last question of our discussion? Is there anyone in the audience who wants to ask something?
Or I can grab it.
Yeah, Michal.
But there was this Marketa Skalkova who, for the moment, turned on her camera. So maybe if she feels like, or just Marketa, we remember you and feel free to get back. But I have one question I have to ask. I like this discussion about, and I definitely share with Veronica this feeling of going again to meet with people, you know, on the, if it's fair, if it's concert, if it's exhibition. And right now I'm sitting in the Dogs Gallery, which is finally open from yesterday. And today we hold like a hybrid event. It was crazy to do it like 3 people online, you know, 2 people in the gallery actually. But we wanted to do it because we wanted to, you know, have people here, have people there. And it was, but I have to ask one question because we had this discussion yesterday about the socially engaged design and critical practice in design. And I would like to more like maybe as the last question I ask about the situation maybe in schools. And what I would like to very ask you, like, you know, how is the support of such a projects and concepts within the school environment, actually within the studios of illustration? And maybe it would be good to share also not just experience from Prague, but maybe also from Slovenia, or because what we so far, you know with the socially engaged practice, especially in design, it's not supported. You know, like the students who decide, you know, that they would like to follow such a topic in terms of design production, there is nothing actually. This was also like as for us the starting point to make such a discussion, to open it up and to try to create this environment when you can feel safe and supported if you want to approach design from a little bit different perspective. But you know, I have to ask Bara and Veronica, because your magazine is called Food. so I guess that the support from so how is it? It's very much mixing my feeling right now actually.
Yeah, so it's called Food because we met and studied together at Faculty of Art and Design, and FUD is the shortcut for that, in Ústí nad Labem. And I think that our studio was kind of open to such topics also at times when we were studying there. And now it occurred or happened that I work there as an assistant teacher in the studio, and I really try to bring this kind of practice to the studies as well. So, for example, now we work with our students on a project about endangered species of animals in Czech Republic. So we really try to come up with actual topics that we feel urged to work on. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe our guests have some other experience with studies and academic environment according to these topics.
Maybe I
want to share? Yeah.
Well, I think my school, I attend whatever. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that in English. It doesn't matter. But essentially, our school is really. I was surprised how open they were to, I don't know, just such topics, and also supporting me as a trans person, because if I attended another college, I would probably have a worse time. And also many galleries that I've worked with were really open to these topics and to me as a person. And I personally was really lucky in this regard.
Great. And Lucia and Valentin, do you also want to try to share your experience with studies and socially engaged topics?
Well, I had the feeling at the Academy of Fine Arts that I finally found myself in an environment that was very like accepting all the kinds of people and very sensitive to the different kinds of issues. So I felt like it was very like welcoming environment. Yeah.
I think I said it when I was talking about the presentation, but in my school, it was not necessarily encouraged, or like, it's not that it was actively discouraged to talk about social topics or work collectively or whatever, but it was not, the focus was really on developing your art practice, and yeah.
So thank you very much. Thank you all. I don't see any more questions in the chat. So maybe we can, or if there's some.
So very last one, yes, if there is some. We are already live for 93 minutes, so maybe it doesn't seem like that. It's already long. It's a long time. So maybe I will just thank you all. It was great. Like, thank you for finding your time. Bara, thank you for bringing this topic to Uroboros Festival. It's great. We were hosting, and my question about the schools, about the environment there, was because that's what we seems as a little troubling, and the topic of the festival is troubling times. So if there is this trouble we find, we want to discuss it. So thank you for sharing, and it's good to know that environment in terms of illustration studios focus on illustrations are so welcoming, and that the students can develop the topics which they think are troubling. So thank you, Bara, thank you, Veronica, thank you, Lucia, thank you, Valentin, thank you, Nuka, and thank you to all of you who were watching us online, on Facebook, on YouTube, also here in the Zoom, and I will maybe ask Jonas to close it up.